Okay, we are live. Welcome, everybody. My name is Evan Jones. I'm the community manager for Pursuitery.com, and thank you all for joining us today. With me is Mickey. How you doing, Mickey? Hey, hey. Today we're going to have some hints for our fourth challenge for coding with Scratch, the Choose Your Adventure challenge. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I have a lot of notes today because this is a kind of an intense one, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So this is the fourth of 5 Coding with Scratch challenges offered by Pursuitery.com. And once you complete all 5 challenges, you'll get a Scratch Digital Ninja badge, or a Scratch Ninja Digital badge, if you'd like to put it that way as well. Now, just so you know, you can complete those challenges, all 5 challenges, by August 24th at 11:59 p.m. PDT and get the badge. So you can self-study at your own pace. But again, we're running a weekly contest, so if you complete your challenge for Choose Your Adventure by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. PDT, you'll be eligible to win a Makey Makey. So if you check out Thursday's Prize Time Geekout with Mickey at 10 a.m. PST, you can see who won for last week's challenge, and we stagger that every week, so it's going to be, here's last week's winner, here's this week's winner, etc., etc. You'll see a link below my name here, Pursuitery Evan, for this week's challenge, which is Choose Your Adventure. And again, if you have any questions, we'll answer them at the end of the Geek Out. We got a few here submitted, and I'm going to put up Mickey here so you can read the hashtag we use is Coding with Scratch. That's hashtag Coding with Scratch, and yeah, somewhere in that general vicinity. Just follow my pointing finger. It's not the maze game with the finger. It's Choose Your Adventure this week. But the hashtag is Coding with Scratch, so you can tweet us questions, and we'll answer those at the end of the Geek Out. We have a few submitted questions today that we're going to talk about for Choose Your Adventure, but the note that I wanted to make was for code-specific questions, and specifically stuff about improving your game and questions about which code block to use and where, you should check out the link that I'm pointing to right now on Pursuitery.com, because that will allow you to get in touch with our coaches in our Scratch studio. You can actually find it, if you want to go directly to it, I'm going to say it out loud and it's going to be a little slow, intr.st/Scratch Studio 4C. That's, again, if you have questions and you want to Scratch Hope. If you want to Scratch Coach's help immediately, you can go to intr.st/Scratch Studio 4C. And again, you can see the challenge link to this below. That's going to include all the relevant links and all the stuff you're going to need to move forward with the challenge. So anyway, today's Geek Out is basically, we're going to talk about some hints for Choose Your Adventure. It's going to be pretty quick. We're going to break down what you need to participate, how to submit challenges, and as we mentioned before, how to get help. Remember, we've got a show and tell Geek Out on Friday, so if you submit your project to us, we can show it there. We've seen a lot of great entries so far. We look forward to seeing a lot more great entries. We actually already got some people who have gone ahead and submitted their Choose Your Adventure entry in the course of the day, so kudos. That is some serious work. So the show and tell Geek Out on Friday is going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm today ensconced in Houston, Texas, so I'd like to welcome everybody to the Central Time Zone edition of Pursuitery Evan Presents, but it's still going to be 10 a.m. Pacific time for all of our Geek Outs, and that's on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and the show and tell will be on Friday, and Mickey's Prize Time Geek Out, which she hosts, will be on Thursday at 10 a.m. So to join, first off, you're going to need a Scratch account, and you can sign up for that for free at scratch.mit.edu. You'll also need to join Pursuitery.com. You can see it again here. That's Pursuitery.com, and you can get an account there for free. So we're basically doing it off the 2 websites, Scratch and Pursuitery. And to join this challenge, on Pursuitery, click Participate on Coding with Scratch Choose Your Adventure Challenge. That's going to be listed from the front page, and again, you can actually see the link under my name here. I keep pointing that out because it's very useful and people keep asking, so I just want to have that ready and available. And you click Participate on that page, and as long as you're logged in, you'll then see a Submit Challenge button. So if you click on that, you'll be able to submit a link to your Scratch entry on scratch.mit.edu, where the work is done. So remember, the deadline for the weekly challenge is going to be this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. PDT, and if you have things in by that time, you'll be eligible to win the Makey Makey. But remember, all the challenges are going to go until August 24th at 11:59 p.m. PDT. So if you want to self-study, you want to keep refining your game, you just want to keep working to make it your best, that's fine too, as long as you submit all 5 challenges by August 24th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. You will get the Scratch Digital Ninja Badge. That's all 5 submissions by that time. Badge is yours. So if you need to edit your submission, we have a few people asking if they can go back and edit your submission, their submissions. You can go back to the same challenge page and click Edit Your Submission if you're logged in, and update the listing with the new URL or resubmit. And again, as far as getting help goes, please check out the challenge link that I keep pointing to. If you visit the Scratch Studio for Challenge 4, you can leave comments or questions for coaches. And don't worry if you're not sure about everything. The whole point of this, I know it seems somewhat official, but the whole point of this is for you guys to have a whole lot of fun with Scratch. We've seen some amazing work from everybody involved, and we just want to give everybody a huge shout out for everything they've done so far. But we just want to get everybody comfortable with what Scratch is and how it works and the basics of game coding. So the Choose Your Own Adventure Challenge has one requirement only. It sounds deceptively simple, but to meet the challenge requirements, you need to create a story with at least 2 plot choices for the user. So if you know Scratch already, you can add some extras to your game, sounds, backgrounds, sprites, animations, splash screens, variables, etc., etc. But this week's requirement for the Choose Your Adventure game is to create a story with at least 2 plot choices for the user. I'm going to break down exactly what that means with some nifty diagrams and by use of screen sharing in just a couple minutes here. Thank you, Mickey, for your help. And we can kind of explain how that goes. But basically, we're going to have a story game this week that presents options for the users. So we had a couple of questions here about sprites and control. Oh, pardon me. We had questions about variables this week, and we had questions about scripting vis-a-vis sprites and how to control variables. Let's go ahead and prepare the screen shares. So question number 1, why do I use variables in my adventure game? Very good question. So you create variables to save information for later use. That's the main reason you use variables in the adventure game. In this case, specifically talking about the example cases, we got some example games up. In the adventure games case, you're going to use them to help you store the decisions you make in your story. It's going to be storing that data to use at a later date. So in our hints video, which you can see on the same page as this Geekout if you're watching us on Pursuitery, you can see an example of how this works in the Goldilocks story we're telling. So in that video, I pulled this screenshot. Thanks for sharing. So this is an example of the code blocks that we're talking about from that game in that video. In that video, when the princess asked if she should eat the mac and cheese, we originally had the variable there after 2 blocks where it says set 8 mac and cheese to no. We originally had the variable there under the other 2 code blocks under broadcast receptor and point interaction. Now later in the same code block, we had the ask code block to show ask if you should eat the mac and cheese, and then we have an if-else loop stating if answer equals yes, which switched the background and then set the mac and cheese variable to yes. So this is an example of what we've done here to store this information and to come back to use it later. So see the set mac and cheese and does this, and it comes down to ask. And this is asking us to change our variable here. So it asks, should I eat the mac and cheese? And wait. And it comes to this if-else loop, which is a important programming concept and kind of a really cool way to learn this is contextually through making a game. If answer equals yes, then switch backtrack to bedroom 3, say, that was good for 2 seconds, and then you see the variable changes, this data changes from the no we had up here to yes. Else meaning if you don't say, oh yeah, I'll eat that mac and cheese, say, I better not for 2 seconds. All right, so that's an example of why we use variables, to store data that we will take advantage of later on or make use of later on during our game. Now, in this case, the bear showed up and saw that Goldilocks had eaten the mac and cheese, and the bear wasn't happy. But understand that the computers have to be programmed, so the bear had no choice but not to be happy because we hadn't programmed anything else into that loop and that opportunity. So the variable saying the mac and cheese had been eaten, and we hadn't had an alternate option there. So if we had made clear that the mac and cheese was not eaten in the if-else loop, which we talked about earlier, we could have had an outcome that would probably have been better for Goldilocks in general, probably involved less unpleasantness for her. And again, that's broken down by both the scripting, which is how we decide how we're going to tell the story and where it's going to go, and the way that we store data via variables. So that's, in short, why we store variables, to make use of them again in the future. Again, I understand that this is an odd concept to immediately come across, but you're going to get really familiar with it. And you start slow and you build up with it, and you'll get used to the idea of always having your watch set, so to speak. That's probably a bad analogy or a bad metaphor, so I apologize to any professional programmers watching this. But just keep messing with it and keep asking questions in the Coach's Studio, which you can see the link for below, and we will help you out. And also, you can tweet at us using Coding with Scratch as the hashtag. We had another question here. As I fix one thing. Okay, so number 2, the second question we have today is, what's the best way to write a script? Wow, that is a really intense question, because you're going to get a lot of intense answers. Writing a script is a process that can be really complex or really difficult. So I'd like to step out and give you my own recommendation here and say that you should keep things simple at first. An easy chart which maps the beginning and the end all the way to the end of your game and illustrates how your game moves and flows is a very good start, and it's a very good thing to have, because you'll know exactly where you want to go. You've just got to map it out and code it out. So here's an example of a simple script. I did this one yesterday, some graphics to prove a point. Alright, so what you see going on here is we have the 2 options we were talking about. So this one would fulfill the requirements. We start the game at, say, a zoo, and so we're there at the zoo and we're hanging out, and that's the background. Then we get to choice 1, which is stay or go home. So if we stay, we move on to scene 2, and if we go home, well, in this case, it's not much of a game, but we could just restart and try again. It's a subtle way of letting our user know that they should probably stay at the zoo. And then we come to choice number 2, which is eat sherbet or eat pie. I'm kind of hoping I spelled sherbet correct there, but if I didn't, I'll edit this. I didn't hear anything from OpenOffice, but the choice of desserts there is the second choice. And so if you choose the sherbet, well, it goes to ending 1, and there you go. You've eaten sherbet. And if you choose to eat pie, it goes to ending 2. You ate pie. And this is an example of all you'd need to do to actually fulfill the requirements for your game. So let's give it one more look there. You've got the flow of the script, and this is more of a breakdown of flow. Script typically requires you to have dialogue, but we're not concerned about that. We're thinking about the script flow. We start the game at the zoo, we stay or go home. If we stay, we move on to scene 2. If we go home, we restart, or we do whatever we want to do from there. And then we come to choice number 2, where we have 2 endings as the result. And that's basically the gist of how to script for your game. Now, it's a very simple way to do it, but I think you'll find it's very effective, and it frees you up to actually focus on your art, your background, your coding, and refining your process. See, you don't have to go bit by bit and figure out, oh my goodness, what's the next step? You can just kind of focus on your ultimate goal, which is getting to a satisfying ending and fulfilling the requirements of the Scratch Challenge. So that's a breakdown of a simple script. Again, think simple, and then you build it up into something more complicated if you'd like to. And it's much easier to make a complete game if you work from a solid starting point, and you have an idea of you have an idea of where your endpoint is, which you can move to. And that should be very useful for everybody watching this and who's working on the challenge. So again, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask us on Twitter using the hashtag codingwithscratch. And again, we can point you to the coach's studio if you need help with something complex in terms of your project or code questions, etc., etc. Now, closing, let's talk about submitting your projects. After entering, where you enter on Pursuitery.com, which you can see how to spell there, because many people ask, you just click on participate in the upper right on the page, and you can submit your project after you've logged in. In order to get feedback on your project and be eligible to earn the digital badge, you're going to submit your project link by clicking on the big red submit button and submit your challenge above that via your Scratch link. And again, you get your Scratch account and you do your Scratch work at scratch.mit.edu. So that button will appear after you log in and enter the challenge, and that's all again on Pursuitery.com for the Choose Your Adventure Challenge. So the live Geekout schedule for the rest of the week: on Thursday, we'll be having prize time with Mickey. We'll be passing out the Makey for the previous week's challenge, which I believe was the Horde. And on Friday, we'll be having the show and tell for the Choose Your Adventure Challenge. So please, if you'd like to show your game off, get it into us as soon as possible, and we will go from there and get it on the air. So unless we have any questions via the Twitter feed, I believe that will be it for the day. So again, we want to thank everybody for participating, everybody for stopping by Pursuitery.com, everybody for signing for a Scratch account. We want to thank all the coaches, all of our partners, and everybody who has made this as awesome an adventure it has been. And we really look forward to seeing the games and what you'll submit on what you'll submit by the end of the week, and ultimately what you'll submit by August 24th at 11:59 p.m. PDT, when everything is over. Again, get all your challenges in by that time, and you will get the Scratch Digital Ninja Badge. On behalf of myself and everybody at Pursuitery, obviously our friend Mickey too, who was kind enough to do the driving today while I sat here and did all the yapping. We'd like to thank you, and we wish you good luck on your games, and we cannot wait to hear from you. Take care. Bye bye.